Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild show. Tabletop Gaming Guild is all about the memories and experiences they get from playing board games with friends and family. Today, we have a special guest, Earl Silva here from Terrier Games. We're going to talk all about Terrier games today. So let's go ahead and start off. Earl, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of your background and what got you into the hobby and what got you into designing games.
Okay, well, my name is Earl Silva. I run Terrier Games. And it's kind of a weird story, what got me into board games and game design. I like to say that beer actually got me into game design. And so how that story goes is we were living in the Bay Area at the time, and my now wife and I decided that it was time to move out. So we ended up heading out to Sacramento, and I wasn't going to know anybody. I've never even been to Sacramento before we started looking. And so I figured I was into home brewing at the time. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to really get into that. I ended up starting a craft beer blog and all that good stuff, met a lot of people. And so in doing that, we were going to the breweries, I do my posts and all the blurb and stuff. And then we'd end up drinking and then playing games. And so I hit a milestone on my blog, and I thought, you know what? I think I should do some sort of giveaway or some sort of give back to the people who are following me. So my background's actually in graphic design, and I also have a business degree. So I thought, we play a lot of card games. Maybe I'll just I'll design a beer themed deck of cards, and then I'll just release that for whoever wants it. And it just sort of snowballed from there. I was doing research into where to print cards and how I wanted to do the decks. And then from there, I thought, why don't I just make a game and then I'll release the game to them. So I was doing research on different games. And I had played games growing up, but it was mostly backgammon was my game of choice. So I didn't really know what was out there until I started looking. And then, like I said, it kind of snowballed from there, and it kind of transitioned over from doing the craft beer blog to doing a board game blog. And then COVID hit, and I basically had no work to do. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing some more of those games, and here we are.
Yeah, I'm really interested in craft beer brewing. I did a little bit of it. I'm not in any way good at it. But if you don't mind, send me the link to your blog. I'll put it in the description down below, and I will also like to read that because that'd be really, really cool.
Okay, so since a few years ago, I actually lost control over the blog. So I lost my passwords and stuff for the email I was using for the Twitter account, which I had the craft beer blog on. So it's gone. I can't use it anymore.
Now I'm very sad.
I've had so many issues. Yeah, I've been trying to get a hold of AOL, and they don't respond. So
yeah,
it's gone now. Like I said, since I've kind of transitioned to doing more board game stuff, so I don't even post on there anymore. We still go to the breweries, and we still like to enjoy all that stuff. But yeah, it's history now. Sorry.
That's okay. That's still really, really cool. So I see that so far you've designed, I believe, 5 games. Does that sound right?
I've designed more than that, but yeah, as far as releasing, something like that, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, somewhere 5 or 6, somewhere around there. I mean, my designer style, I guess, is a little different. I basically let them go as I make them. Like, I'm not waiting for a certain time of year. I'm not trying to. I guess I should hype some of them a little bit more than I do, but I just figure everyone else is already doing that, so I just wanted to do something different. So, as I develop them, as they're done, I release them out to the wild, basically.
So a couple things I thought was really cool. So I like game crafters. I really like that for sort of being able to have your games on there and be able to easily sell them and have them produce them for them. And it used to be like a decade or so ago, game crafter games, when I would get them weren't that great, but the game crafter games have come up so much like the Path of Rivals thing is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. It comes in this little tin there that looks, and then it has this art on top of it that makes it look like a little sort of Nintendo style game. And I love the nice rounded corners in all the game, all the cards. One of the cool things about Path of Rivals also is that you have the rules for free on your website, which I thought was really cool of you. And you can play the Path of Rivals with a 52 deck of cards if you want. Although,
yeah, like I said, I like to do things different. So that was one thing I really wanted to stress with, at least the games that I'm coming out with now is I don't want to put the rules in the thing because I want you to go to my website. I want you to see it, and then just to promote the fact that you can play the regular deck of cards. I just think is something that's really cool, and I wish more people were doing that. Just so I have more games to play. But yeah, the Game Crafter. When I first found out about the Game Crafter, they had a different interface, and for me, it was really difficult to figure that out. So I actually avoided them for a long time. And I was using another company called MakePlayingCards.com. I think they're out of San Francisco or something. And so they were pretty local to me, so it's easier for me to go get stuff picked up. But they didn't have like the Game Crafter has a store, and they actually promote, and you can sell on their website. And that's sort of also what pushed me to self-publish and what got me started, and kind of helped develop. Like I said, the way I release my games now is because I do use a print-on-demand service. Whenever they're ready, I just throw them up there and they do it for me. So,
yeah, and getting back to, we'll talk about the other games in a second. I've actually got to play Path of Rivals. I haven't played any of the other ones, so I want to know more about those. But for Path of Rivals, I was really floored at how you took a 52 deck of cards. And in Path of Rivals, basically, it goes through two different phases. In Path of Rivals, it's a two-player game. Your first one, you're trying to catch different monsters that you can use to battle in the second phase, and you're going along this path that you construct, which I believe is 6 cards in a 5x5 grid, or five rows of 6 cards.
5 rows of 6 cards.
Yeah. And you have aces, which are your player characters, and you will start on opposite sides and work your way through. And you have a little dexterity element of the game where you're going to have to toss a card onto the deck box that you have on there, and then it's going to be so many cards away based on which one you used. And you have some cool like special effects that you can use with the other 3 cards. And then you go into the second phase and you have to battle with these monsters, and it's to the last person standing and you win. There is a lot to this game that I didn't even think was possible with a 52 deck of cards. So and I will plug real quick. I said that the box, the working with the deck of cards is great, but if you like the game and you try it and download it from the site, and I highly recommend picking up the one from Game Crafters, because the one from Game Crafters has all the reminders and rules on each of the cards, and has really cool art on it, and it just flows really nicely. So my question is, how did you come up with that? That's amazing.
All right. So that game is actually a compilation of, I think, 3 different experiences or 3 different games. I grew up being a big fan of Pokemon. So when I was going through my list of games, like what do I want to design now? What do I want to make? I thought, you know what? Let's do a trading card game. But instead of trying to actually do a trading card where you're, trying to put out more decks and all this stuff, I was like, I'm just going to do it within my normal design restraints and try and do something like that. So the core design of that one was supposed to be like Magic the Gathering, like Pokemon, but using a regular deck of cards. And I have been working on another game at the same time that was a racing game. And so I actually took the track from the racing game, and that's where I got the first part of Path of Rivals. And I don't know, something just hit me, and I was like, you know what, I can just mash this together. And it sort of reminded me of like the Pokemon Game Boy games versus like the trading card game. And I was like, oh, that would actually be a really cool idea. Instead of doing some sort of way to either, oh, you have to build your deck before you fight, or you have to do this. Like, why don't I just have people try and actually catch the creatures like you would in Pokemon, and then battle with them later. And I had played one of Gabe Barrett's games, one of the hunted ones. It was I think it was the Colony one, and that's where I was like, oh, he's using a dexterity mechanic in this one. I was like, how would I do that with the cards? And so in his, I believe you were just kind of flicking the tokens in there, and I was like, well, I could just flick it on the box and see if that works. And surprisingly, it worked too well. So I was like, all right, cool. So I just started kind of working from there off of that. And that's also why I liked using the tin for that game, is because the tin's going to hold up a lot more than a regular cardboard box would. I mean, you can still play with a deck of cards. Like I have one here that I've been using to design with, and this thing's all beaten up. It's all soft and whatever. It still works. The tin's going to hold up a lot better. So yeah, so for playing this game for longevity, the tin's going to be better. But yeah, no, like I said, the inspiration was definitely a trading card game, sort of battling like that, and then and Pokemon and Magic and all that kind of stuff.
I will say I really like the size you picked for the cards too, which is smaller than a playing card size. I think that actually works really nicely for the tossing thing, to catch the monsters in there.
Yeah, so I mean, this game, it's just using a deck of cards, but the cards are sprawled out, so it actually takes up a lot of table space. So it's actually a pretty big game, and I like to try and make my card games feel and play more like board games. So that's why there's a lot of table presence with this game, because I wanted you to actually manipulate stuff, move a character around, which is a card instead of a meeple or some other thing like that. But yeah, those card sizes are actually the mint tin card size from the Game Crafted. So it was kind of a no-brainer. That's what's going to fit the tin. And I had actually heard, I think on another podcast, they were talking to the creators of like the other tin games, I can't think of it right now.
Like Mint Delivery and stuff.
Yeah, Mint Delivery, and yeah, and so when they were talking about theirs, they were saying that they were like, we would never just put cards in here because there's so much more you can do, all this other stuff. And so I felt a little guilty just putting a deck of cards in just the tin. It makes sense to put more in there because you can, but for the purposes of having this structured thing for the dexterity mechanic is why I was putting the cards in there. And then after that, I was just like, you know what, like, okay, yeah, it's just a deck of cards. I guess I could go a little more cost effective and just go with like the deck. But I like the tins because they're so durable. So that's why I just kind of stuck with them. And they're actually not that much smaller than a regular deck of cards. So they're still easy to fan out and hold and shuffle. And we like to use a card shuffler, and they fit the card shuffler just fine. So I just kind of stuck with the mint tin card size.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so having not played this game yet, you guys are talking about a dexterity aspect. How does that dexterity part work exactly?
So, so the game's called Path of Rivals, and basically that's what it is. Your rival trainers starting at opposite sides of the path, and you're going through trying to catch creatures until you meet in the middle. And I wanted to have a way where I wasn't going to use dice, and all the cards were basically used. Like you'll notice in this game, there's a use for every single card. I didn't really leave any card just off to the side or discarded or whatever. So in doing that, there really wasn't much left to work out for somehow catching them. And so I thought I'll separate out these cards right here. So there's 3 net cards instead of Pokeballs, they're nets. I thought it was kind of funny and ironic, so I just went with that. And you actually just physically toss these cards onto the card box, and then there's like a track. So it goes from good, better, best. And then as you use them, you can't use them until you've used all of them. So it kind of gives you some strategy there as to, I really want this creature on my team. So maybe I'll use one of my better nets, but there's a good one coming up. So maybe I'll kind of go somewhere in the middle. And then so you use those cards and you actually kind of toss them onto the card box, and you want to have it land on the card box. If it falls off, it's no good. And so, yeah, like I there really wasn't anything else to use. So when I came up with that, I was like, perfect. Everything worked together. So
that sounds really awesome. I mean, it's like you said, it's it's simple in the idea. Like it's just what a cool, simple solution to, rather than throwing in something else in the box, sticking with the deck of cards and figuring out a solution. I think that's cool that you had a parameter that you were like, I'm gonna figure out a solution within these parameters. So
yeah, like my design style now is I actually really enjoy trying to make these games with the deck of cards. So kind of here going forward, with the exception of some games, I will try and keep everything just a deck of cards. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what else I can do physically with a deck of cards.
Yeah,
and I do love the art. The pixelated art's always a good time. So
yeah, that was actually so originally I was trying to, in the spirit and the theme of Pokemon, I was going to do creatures, and like so my background's in graphic design, so I like to kind of challenge myself with different art genres and that kind of stuff. So at the time I kind of got into pixel art, so I was like, okay, of course I'm going to do pixel art, whatever. And then so I came out with Path Rivals, did all the artwork for it, and then I decided that I wanted to make a solo version of the game. This time it won't be a deck of cards, and I can just whatever I want to put in there, meeples, whatever I want. And I ended up doing these food characters, and I fell in with those characters more, so I kind of just threw it back onto the first one. So the game that I ended up giving you guys was like the food edition version of Path Rivals, and because the game is for free and you can play with a deck of cards, I can just keep making different additions to it. It'd be the same game, but just playing around with the artwork, which is also fun to do.
Yeah, and I think.
I mean, did you get
good?
He actually had a chance to look at the cards, is what he's saying. He just hasn't played it. Right?
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I've seen the illustrations and stuff. So I think it looks a lot of fun. So
yeah, that one was pretty interesting because I tried to blend just like vector art with pixel art, so everything's not just pixel, everything's not just vector. So it was it was a cool little mix between the two.
Yep.
Yeah, I really, really liked the art on those, and I really like the 52 deck of card idea, but again, the playing with the 52 deck of card, which I played with first, and I liked it, and then having that 10 with the cards showing like the combo pairs and stuff for the monsters, and so to remind you that I think it's 20, 30, 50 health. 20, 30.
Yeah, max at 50.
Yeah. If you do the set, so you can sort of, instead of like having to memorize it in your head or look it up, it's right there. So when you're getting your monsters together, you can decide right then and there how you're going to combine them and stuff. And they all have different abilities, which is nice that they're listed on the bottom. Just really, really good.
Yeah, that's also a big design challenge with trying to do a game with just the playing cards is how much memory space are the players going to have to remember what does what and does what does what. So that's why for that game I kept it to just 4 suits. There's 3 main suits and then 1 like rare suit that's in there. And then I tried to keep it sort of in line with how the suits like look to me. Anyway, like the clubs look like a tree, so it's gonna act like in Pokemon like a grass or a leaf type kind of creature. And so that's something I've noticed while designing these games is I have to kind of make sure everything is easy to, like, there's enough headspace there to remember, okay, this is going to do this and this is going to do this. So
one of the games I'm really interested in and I wanted to hear a little bit more about is that Roll of War, which is a first-person shooter style game. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that one. That one also comes in the same 10, I believe, right?
Yeah, so I think just about all my games come in the 10 just because the Game Crafter has them available. Like I said, I really like the durability of the container. But so that one is sort of my love letter to first-person shooter games. The first-person shooter game that I've ever come across was the Frag from the Steve Jackson game, Frag. You guys heard of that one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I actually haven't played it, but when I was doing my research to do a first-person shooter game, that's the first one that popped up, and I was like, why is there more stuff on this one? I liked how they were able to you're able to actually adjust your character stats and all that kind of stuff. So I had originally, I think the first game I came out with was Roll 'em In, which is the fishing tournament one. And when I was designing that one, I had a couple other ideas for that game that I kind of didn't put in the game. And I thought, I could just keep trying to do this format and just see what I can do with it. And so Roll a Board was the next one in that line that I did. And so those ones have like a map that can be changed and stuff. So every time you play, the maps can be different. And because there's so much kind of going on with that one too, I kept the artwork very simple, just plain kind of symbols and then different colors. So it's easy to kind of pick up. And so that one, you're going to be, when you want to shoot somebody in that game, you roll, each person's rolling 3 different dice, trying to match the dice face on each dice. And what I really liked about that is what it creates is it's like stressful. And so I thought that was something that a lot of those games were missing, was that element of like I'm running around trying to tag somebody. And so what I did is, like I said, I took kind of the guts of the first game and I just reskinned it. And then so in that game, you actually also can adjust your stats. And so I wanted to carry that over like I saw in Frag. And what's the other one? So there's like Adrenaline too, which was kind of a unique kind of first-person shooter game. So I tried to take parts of what I had seen with those, but in something that was a little bit more streamlined. With World of War, I'll have to send you guys a copy of that one. But like I said, that one basically, like I said, what I really liked about that one was the shooting mechanic, because it was kind of stressful. There's the element of character growth, character building, so you can change your stats, like how many dice you have for movement, your hit strength, and different stuff like that. And then the last thing I added to that game was, of course, the I don't know, I'm blanking right now. Like perks. I guess in Call of Duty you call them perks, but basically the stuff that helps you, that breaks the game basically. Like you can do this when you normally can't, and go over here and do this. So that one basically in a nutshell was my interpretation of a micro first-person shooter style board game.
Yeah, I'd be curious to try that, because I have played Adrenaline, and well, Adrenaline's a decent game. I didn't feel like it felt anything like a first-person shooter, and I think a smaller game could pull that off better than Adrenaline.
Yeah. So like I said, mine was meant to be extremely streamlined, so everything's pretty simple. I didn't go too crazy with the artwork, and then at this time when I was designing it, like I said, I like to play around with the different art styles, and I kind of saw the gaming community grow into kind of a popularity contest. And so I was like, you know what? I could go crazy with this, and I can do some nice 3D stuff and here and there. But I was like, you know what? When I want to sit down and play one of these games, I want it to be really simple, and I can play with people who don't really play games. So I said, like I said, I kept it streamlined, and then it has that, like I said, that exciting element to it that I was seeing other games were kind of lacking in a first-person shooter. So when you guys do play it, like you'll notice it's pretty simple. It's kind of like a roll and move and then take an action kind of thing. But those interfaces with other people it's really exciting.
That sounds really cool. So what to date is your favorite game that you designed?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that question. I really do like Path of Rivals. That's why I've been pushing it. Just because, like you said, what I've been able to do with it. I do like World of War, not just because we were talking about it, but because it hits all the check boxes I wanted for what that game does. But if I have to pick one, I would say Pentagon would probably be my favorite. And that's another one of the free to play games that I have up on my website. And that one's basically, it's just a 2-player. I consider it an area control kind of game, but you're just trying to get the majority of your cards on the playing field by the end of the game, and the end of the game is triggered by all the cards being being used. And what I really like about that game is how simple it is, and then you can make some pretty cool combos in that game. So, you can do this that triggers this, and it has all these chain reactions that kind of happen. But it's really simple and it's pretty quick to play. And that was one we actually played a lot during the lockdown days of COVID. And so if I have to pick one that I can just sit down and play, probably that one, just right off the bat. I mean, it's like Path Rivals, like I said, that's one of my favorites, but there's a bit of setup, and then to teach new players, there's a bit of like, okay, like we'll run through a game or two and then figure out, okay, and then we get into it, because then they know what they're doing, and then the battle part at the end is a little more fun.
Yeah, the Pentagon game sounds really, really cool. I still really like the fact that you put the game up for free on your site for a lot of them. I like that a lot. And it's just really cool. So people can pull those down, have a lot of fun. Hopefully throw you a donation if they really like that. Or, like I said...
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything set up quite yet to do a donation. I mean, I was thinking about it, but... like I said, I kind of just like doing this stuff for free. I mean, I came across some of these games when I was first doing game design, and they were using the cards like that, and so that's where I kind of picked it up from. I think it's a lot of fun. I think for people trying to design games, it's good, like restraint to just stick within just the card box. But yeah, I might do some sort of donation thing or something later on. But for right now, like I just have it up there. Everyone can enjoy it and play them.
Have you ever tried to go to any of the... I don't know if they started them back up yet or not, but Game Crafters used to do conventions. Have you gone to any of the Game Crafter conventions?
Not yet. I mean, we've been my wife and family and I have been moving around a lot the last couple months and stuff, and so we're finally settled down. So now we're settled in. I'm gonna start looking for more events and stuff to go to, because it's been a while since I've hit up a Gen Con or some sort of event or something. I plan to, but nothing right now planned. I mean, yeah, that would be interesting too, like to set up a booth somewhere and try and show people like, oh, it's just a deck of cards, but it's like, yeah, but I mean, it's fun. Try and play it.
Yeah, and they actually, what I really liked about the Game Crafters conventions when they did do them is not only did they do that, but they also let you show off your game to multiple people in a form of like a game of the convention sort of thing. So you got to go into a space with all the other people creating games. You got to show off your game, let people play the game, and then you can get rewards for like your game design and playability and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, no, I really like and appreciate how much they promote the designers that are up on their site. Kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially now, it's like you're talking about going to the conventions and stuff. It's like if you're a publisher and you're not going to those things, yeah, it's really hard to get your stuff out there and get people playing your games. And that's also kind of why I like throwing the games up there for free, is because there's no risk involved. You just go up there, try them. If you don't like them, whatever, go on to the next one. But that's kind of how I've been able to supplement not going to the conventions right now.
Yeah, and for one of my last questions on there, I always like to ask game designers, what is one mechanic that you have designed that just didn't work out? And how did that process go? What did it like evolve into? Or were you just like, heck no, and tossed it to the side? Or did it evolve into something else?
Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure there's a bunch that I've tossed out, but then I end up coming back to them later. And I've kind of found that if I try mixing it with different mechanics, it sort of works out eventually. There was one I was working on where you would roll 4 dice. You would essentially lock up to 3 of them, and then you're trying to roll the remaining dice, match those in order to either gain resources or do something else. And I really liked it, but the game as a whole just really wasn't working out. So I'm still trying to get that to work, because I really like it. It has a nice... you guys ever played a game called Can't Stop?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's got the thing. So the idea kind of came from that, where in that one you're rolling, and you have the 12 numbers to choose from. So this one you're kind of picking what numbers you're choosing from, and then you're still trying to roll, and if you don't match any of them, then you enter your turn and stuff like that. So I kind of borrowed that from that game. But yeah, that's one mechanic that I'm hoping I can kind of figure out somehow with some sort of game.
That's my favorite answer, where you just hold on to that mechanic for the future, and it could work out with other games or other themes or other ideas.
I mean, yeah, like I said, the game design is a process. So even if it doesn't work now, it doesn't mean it's not going to work out later. Like Path of Rivals, like I was saying, it could have gone a whole nother direction, but because it kind of held on to it, and I kept bringing stuff into it and seeing if it would fit, it ended up working really well.
So, what do you see for the future of Terrier Games? You're looking for more free games on your website. You'll have a couple more on Game Crafters. What are you looking for? What's your goal for the next couple of years?
I mean, obviously to grow the business, get more followers, and kind of just get more of my games out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the kind of person where I have to be doing something all the time. So my mind is just constantly going. And you can see sometimes I talk too fast, but that's just how I was designed. So I'm going to constantly just keep pumping out new stuff. I'm hoping that's something people will not be discouraged by, because there's always something new, but instead be interested to keep following me and keep seeing what I have that's coming out new. So yeah, there's going to be more games I'm going to put up on the Game Crafter. I'm going to try and do more like the tin and rolling series I was doing with the fishing game and World War. I have a ton of more of these card games that I have not yet shared on Instagram or put up there. So there's more of those coming. And then I don't know if you guys were checking out my Instagram at all, but I'm also trying to work on doing a board game apparel brand. So that's also something that I'm going to be working on. Again, being able to use my graphic design background and just playing around with art and that kind of stuff. So a lot of stuff in the works. And like I said, I just kind of pump things out as I go. So there's no timelines and there's no dates for anything. Yeah, every time you check in, there'll be something new, hopefully.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to the Instagram account, which I highly recommend following, so you can keep up with all the stuff that you come out with. And I'll put links to the website and Game Crafters to the exact page for you too in there. So you just have to get them out of the description, all ready to go. So one of my last questions would be, what would be the number one dream that you would have for a game? So I know you're going more for like the 52 card stuff, but do you have like an ultimate game that you've always wanted to design?
Yeah, actually, after I played GTA 5, I thought open world board game would be the coolest thing to do, but there's just so much that would go into it that I don't know, it'd be kind of hard. I mean, I could dial it back and make a more streamlined version of, say, like a GTA style game, but that's something that was one of my ideas from the beginning, and I have not yet been able to accomplish, is doing some sort of open world. So like an adaptive map or something where it's not going to take up too much space, but it's going to evolve as you play, and then missions and that kind of stuff. But for just one guy doing all the artwork, doing all the design, yeah, until I have a team of people, that's probably not going to happen.
That's why you have dreams.
Yeah.
That's why you have dreams, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that answered a question. I did have one quick question. So when it sounds like you've got a lot of different themes happening from games. Like, again, you've got one that's like fishing. You've got one that's kind of your love of Pokemon. You've got one that's a first-person shooter. When you are starting to sit down and think about a game, like, do you normally go to a regular source of inspiration, or do you just kind of like, are you open to everything? Do you go to movies first or games first?
Yeah. So I mean, with any art medium, they always say do what you know.
Right.
So when I first started going, okay, well, I designed one game and I want to do more. I sort of had my checklist of like, okay, these are the games I like. I would like to do something along the lines of those, whether it be in the same theme or same mechanic or not. So, but my design process is very different from game to game. So sometimes I'll see a movie and be like, oh, I should do a game about that. Or I'll just wake up and be like, oh, had this really interesting idea for a mechanic, and I write it down and try and do like that. So I've been coming at it from all different angles. So I don't have a real clear advice on that one, but yeah, basically you kind of nailed it. So whatever my interests are kind of what I've been trying to hit. Also, what I've been trying to do lately is when I play games with people, I'll ask them like, well, what do you guys like? What are you interested in? That kind of stuff like that. I do feel like I would like to get more or connect more with the females in board gaming on the sense of like, what would they be interested in? Because like so far, all my stuff I feel is very masculine. It's all guy stuff, and it's, like I said, stuff I like to do. So I'm trying to figure out how to be more creative with my themes. Something that might appeal to, the other side too. So going forward in the future, yeah, I'm going to try and draw from different things as much as I can and see what happens.
Well, I love that it's kind of like your design brain is always on. Mm-hmm. So you're just always looking at things, thinking about things. Sometimes, like you said, even if you don't mean to, like all of a sudden you just like, oh, that clicked. You were thinking about it subconsciously. So
it's a blessing and it's a curse. I know when you talk to who's a game designer will tell you, like, once you get bit by the bug, it's just, that's what you're doing from now on. I mean, designing a game is actually a game to me. So I like to play that game, so I'm going to keep playing it. So it's like doing a puzzle, trying to fit these things together and then doing the artwork for it. So that's why I still like to do this, because, like I said, it's like a puzzle.
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm a librarian in my day job, and there's a new book that just came out called The Puzzler. It's all about how the human brain just absolutely loves puzzling things, and that's why we have so many different things in our life that are puzzles. So I love that you mentioned that. I mean, this is making the game is your game.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. It kind of like gave me the thought that I was the best student in school, and I think maybe now it's because I probably wasn't challenged enough. So like this now, I can do my daily work, and this is running in the background. So I'm still challenging myself, trying to fit this stuff together. And it's funny because like I'll find myself running through I'll be playing the game in my head, and it's like a 4-player game. I'm playing each player all in my head, and then I kind of like freeze up sometimes, like okay, yeah, too much was going on, and I have to reset. But yeah, it's constantly going on. So like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. Some people think that I'm making toys, but I'm like, no, like, this is like people interacting, people getting together, like there's strategies involved, like there's life lessons here, like.
That brings up a point for a cool game. You make a game about making games.
Interesting.
Probably not.
Yeah, yeah, I will get to it, but there'll probably be too many mechanics in that one. Trying to get them to all work together might be kind of difficult. But keep shooting the ideas. I mean,
I get the impression that someday we'll be looking at, you have as many games as Ryan and Canazio, and we're like, oh, we knew him when he had 12 games.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, like I said, there's nobody stopping me, so I'm just going to keep making games until I can't. I mean, most of the games I'm going to be coming out with in the near future are going to be for free, so there's no cost to me. There's no barriers of entry for me. I could just throw them up there. So I said, nobody's stopping me. I'm going to keep doing them.
Yeah, and there's a pretty big community for that too, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to try and see if I can find more people who like to play these games using just the playing cards. And I haven't really seen any yet, so I might have to start my own community there on that one. But I said, I want more designers to try and do stuff like this, because then there's more games for me to play.
Yeah, and I'm all great. I'm all for creating communities and nurturing that and getting that going. So that's awesome.
I think maybe a fun question is, what's the latest game that's not yours that you've played that you absolutely loved?
Like a new game that's come out, or new?
Just new to you. Just what's the newest game that you came out and you're like, I loved that game?
So, I mean, I'm late to the table for a lot of stuff. So, everyone's like, oh, my gateway game was Catan. Mine wasn't. So I've kind of discovered that one. It's still old for me, but all the expansions for it. So I'm starting to get into those. I have some family now that's living with us, and so I'm actually able to go dive through my shelf of games, and actually open the ones that I have not opened yet. And so and I'm embarrassed for saying this, but Roll for the Galaxy was one that I had not opened yet. And so we started playing that one, and that one has hooked me pretty good. So I'm looking for the expansions for that one, and then just kind of ones that are like that.
Race is better.
That's which one is it?
Race for the Galaxy is much better than Roll. That's
the card game version. Sorry, that's the card game version. I don't know if I agree with Nathan entirely, but I won't teach you the how to break Roll for the Galaxy. But yeah,
James will ruin it. Don't listen.
Yeah,
to
don't
James.
Listen to me for that.
Enjoy the game.
It is a great game.
There's I just came across a video for a solo variant of Catan. I thought it was pretty interesting. So in that one,
that's really cool.
You're trying to gain X amount of points before basically the island kind of gets destroyed in a way. So it kind of has like a zombie kind of ish. Okay. I was like, oh, that's really interesting too. It reminds me of was it Forbidden Island, kind of where the tiles are getting flipped over. So I was like, you know what? I have all these games that are, not new to other people. There's variants that are new that I haven't really seen yet. So I guess I'll say this too. So most of my game collection is from Kickstarter.
Okay.
So so a lot of the major stuff you'll see in the stores and stuff, I just haven't really looked at it yet. So I have a lot of smaller designer titles and stuff like that. Like there's one called what's it called? It was a brewing one, and
Brewmasters? Is that it?
It's the card one though. It's the smaller one.
Oh.
I do have Brewmasters though.
Brewmasters is cool. Yeah,
that one's fun too. I can't remember what that one is. And then there was Slip Strike, I think was another one. I said a lot of the smaller titles. That's kind of what I'm drawn to, is the stuff that's not really out there, like the weird stuff. And it's usually hit or miss. Like sometimes it's like, okay, that wasn't as fun as it seemed. And then there's some other ones I'm like, dang, how come more people aren't into this game? So yeah, my background's a little different than a lot of other gamers. I've only played the weird stuff, I guess.
That's fine. It all that matters is that you enjoy the game and you can find people to enjoy it with you.
Exactly.
So that's all that really matters. So it doesn't matter if it's an older game or a super obscure game if you have fun.
Some of those smaller obscure games are sometimes even better than the big box stuff that everyone can get.
Yeah, like I said, it's hit or miss. It's who you play with who you play with. And as a designer, that's another thing too, is when I first started doing it, I was trying to make games that the people I was playing with would want to play. And then since then, I've kind of just made stuff that I'm like, you know what, I see this, like I would want to play this, so I'm just going to make this because this is what I would want to play, instead of trying to not necessarily please other people. And then that's another thing I like as a self-publisher, is that technically there's no rules. So if I want to do this, I'm going to do it. If the game doesn't end up being as good as something else, what does it matter? I can just pump out another one or pump out one here. Not that I want the games to be as good as they can be, but I just have that freedom to really play around with mechanics and artwork and just do whatever I want to do with it. And that's another interesting thing too that I'm trying to keep my eye on, is see as I come out with this stuff, how people respond to it, on social media, and how my games are, people are saying about it, stuff like that. And it's interesting to see, because, like I said, I'm not really following, the normal rules. Like if I was to go to a publisher, I have to make sure the game, can be on a shelf. The components are so much, the price is, whatever. And so I say it's interesting to see the reactions I'm getting to what I'm putting out there.
Yeah, that is really, really cool. It's nice to be a little self-publisher. Except for having to do everything. You literally have to do everything. Other than that part, It's cool.
But like I said, I enjoy it. I mean, like I said, I have my background's in business. So I have a marketing degree. So I'm curious to see marketing strategies and how that goes. That part of the board game industry. And then I have the art side. So like I said, how people react to the artwork that's put out there and all that other stuff. So it's really interesting to see, what's as my company's kind of grown, the reactions that I've gotten. I mean, like this is the third podcast that I've been on so far since I started in 2020. That's been interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So if people wanted to, what's the best way if people wanted to get a hold of you or check out some of your new content and stuff? Is that your website, or do you recommend them going to the Instagram, or do you have like a Facebook group or Discord community?
Yeah, so I think my phone's about to die pretty soon, but I'm mainly on Instagram. I'm trying to push more towards the website.
Okay.
So again, I have more freedom to put what I want on there. But mainly it's going to be Instagram. I am on Twitter, but I don't really use it that much. And then you can, if you're shopping through the Game Crafter, I have my site up on the Game Crafter. But most of my websites are terriergames.com, and then that has the links to all the social media and stuff like that. So I'm trying to push the website. It's still a work in progress, but that's where the bulk of everything's going to be.
And just want to say thank you so much, Earl, for being on the show. I was really a fan of the Path of Rivals game. I thought that was amazingly ingenious. And I hope to have it on in the future and see you go throughout your entire designing career. It would be really, really cool. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's been fun.
So that's it. I'll put all the links in the description below. So if you're watching, you'll be able to go there and check out the website, go to the Instagram. And I just want to say thank you for watching.